Hi, darling. I want to talk about a concept in A Course in Miracles that was really confusing for me when I started the course, and that is starting recently to click into place a little bit. So I want to talk about it and share, hoping that it is a shortcut for you, that you don't have to stumble around as long as I did trying to make sense of this thing that's I now understand is quite simple, but at the time felt so out of reach. And it's the concept of being perfect, because the ego gets so triggered by the idea that you're perfect. If I were to look in your eyes right now and say to you, you are perfect. You are perfect, whole, and complete. Your soul knows that's the truth, but your ego is going to reject that harshly. Like, no, I'm not perfect because I, yelled at my kid the other day, or I'm not perfect because I got so frustrated, in that traffic jam. So A Course in Miracles doesn't say to become perfect or to work toward perfection or to figure out how to be perfect. It simply states the truth that you are perfect. You are perfect. And it's blasphemy to say otherwise, because God created you. You are perfect. And A Course in Miracles does not teach, this thought system does not teach that errors in thinking can affect your perfection. Temporarily, it can get you to act against your perfection. It can get you to act against your own best interest, but it doesn't change your inherent worth, which is without price. And it doesn't take away from your indomitable nature. It doesn't take away from your glory and your greatness one iota. In fact, it talks repeatedly in A Course in Miracles about how these things will actually be counted for your good as you turn your nightmares over to spirit and let them be illuminated. Because now you have even more knowledge, you have even more compassion, and you can take the goodness gleaned, the wisdom gleaned, the knowledge that you now have, and be a way shower. So nothing is ever wasted. And I love that. I love that. It's a very radical thought system compared to what we're taught, compared to what ego teaches, compared to what we're taught in the world of man, that we are all horrible, we are all fallen, we are all flawed, and that at best we can hope to grovel and beg to find our way back to God. That is what ego would have us believe, because that keeps us separate from God. And A Course in Miracles is inviting us to know our true nature, that we are one. We are one with the Father. And Christ taught that in his mortal ministry. The Father and I are one. And he told his disciples that they were one with the Father. And as I sit by the throne of my Father, so shall you sit by my throne. Yeshua in the New Testament is not an elitist. He's very much telling his followers, everything I can do, you will do, and greater. It's interesting how ego always wants to put above and below, but Christ's teaching was equality, even with himself. He didn't even put himself above his disciples. Now, later on, people added all kinds of additional teachings that were not taught for their own means. I mean, I'm not going to judge. I don't understand, why certain things were interpreted or added on or twisted in a way to make it seem that we're not good enough, when everything that Yeshua taught is that we're already good enough. We don't have to become good enough. We are good enough. You are that. You are that. And in A Course in Miracles, it goes into a deeper explanation, which was very needed, because over time, a lot of those teachings, those beautiful, pure teachings, were perverted and twisted and used to manipulate people and to make them feel unworthy and to make them feel like, you need to do this, this, and this. You need to give me your money. You need to give me, this, that, maybe, and then maybe you'll be good enough. And it became very demonic in a way. The pure teachings were so egalitarian, but it got twisted to become the teachings of ego, right? The truth was lost in a lot of instances. And I'm not saying every lineage lost the truth. I'm just saying the way people look at Christianity today is not anything close to what Christ actually taught, if you go back and just look at his actual words. Everyone is free to refuse to accept his inheritance, but he is not free to establish what his inheritance is. The problem everyone must decide is the fundamental question of authorship. All fear comes ultimately, and sometimes by way of very devious routes, from the denial of authorship. The offense is never to God, but only to those who deny him. To deny his authorship is to deny yourself the reason for your peace, so that you see yourself only in segments. This strange perception is the authority problem. There is no one who does not feel that he is imprisoned in some way. If this is the result of his own free will, he must regard his free will as not free, or the circular reasoning in this position would be quite apparent. Free will must lead to freedom. Judgment always imprisons because it separates segments of reality by the unstable scales of desire. Wishes are not facts. To wish is to imply that willing is not sufficient. Yet no one in his right mind believes that what is wished is real as what is willed. Instead of seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, say, will ye first the kingdom of heaven? And you have said, I know what I am, and I accept my own inheritance. I know what I am, and I accept my own inheritance. And again in A Course in Miracles, it teaches what you are. You are God's perfect son, whole and complete. No matter what nightmare you've been through, it did not change your worth, and it did not change your inheritance, which is joy and peace and true freedom. And as it says in A Course, you're free to reject that. But one day you'll get so tired of serving the false god of ego. You'll see how it doesn't give you any return, and it spreads misery. And each of us at some point becomes so tired of that fruitless path that we finally dare to stop and ask, okay, what will work? What will work? The truth. The truth. Be willing to know the truth. Some part of you already does. And now all you need to do is open the blinds and let the light in. And not be afraid of that. And not be afraid of how beautiful and kind and wise and wonderful you are. And always have been. Despite any temporary errors in thinking. Thank you for being here, my love. I'll talk to you soon.